So the topic that I decided to research is about how climate change affects human health. And I found that this topic to be really interesting because I have a passion for the environment, plus also I do have a love for the health. I found very many interesting problems and controversies that arose with this phenomenon. And there's more to this concept than what's actually talked about in terms of like how we are actually destroying our environment, plus how we're in turn destroying ourselves. Many of the impacts that are displayed throughout my research deals with different kinds of effects. Population increase, which is due to the spread of migration through natural disasters, and those natural disasters becoming more and more severe and more dangerous, which are affecting more lives every single time it comes through. Um, this is a photo of the Earth and how it's becoming hotter and hotter because of global climate change. And you can see that the picture accurately depicts the countries that are more industrialized to be producing more emissions and affecting the atmosphere at large. And with those rising temperatures, that the increase of more hurricanes and droughts, which are huge, and people are migrating away from those areas of concern and retreating to higher ground, causing for more dense populations in the areas they're retreating to. And the change in climate has drastically impacted the severity of past, present, soon to be future weather. And with the increase in population, let me go back to our slide. The spread of infectious disease is very prominent. And if it already hasn't, as you can see in certain countries, the spread of certain diseases are huge. And with a higher, more dense population, more waste will be created, and in return negatively contribute to the pollution of our water, atmosphere, and our air. And also with a higher population, our food, water will be in higher demand, but at the same time, with an increased population, it can contribute to like the destroying the land that we do have to create food and the water that is drinkable. And in one of the articles that I read about this lady who was an advocate for in China about moving towards a more sustainable future, is that climate change is therefore the potential to interrupt the progress towards a world without hunger. This line stuck out to me because she's not just talking about China, she's talking about who is one of the biggest contributors of climate change, but also the world as a whole. And with that, it's going to impact our food. And I find it so hard to do research and see so many little articles that are talked about what we're doing to the earth and to ourselves. Many of these articles were mainly about the ideas of GMOs, which are genetically modified organisms, and those having with the increasingly large population, these organisms are becoming more prominent in our foods and in return hindering our health. These GMOs, along with pesticides, of course, are used to keep up with the growing demand for the food that we have. Many people have tried to combat GMOs and pesticides, but the best way to impact yourself in the food industry is to try and buy products that are more organic. The GMOs and pesticides are in our food, and we really can't avoid them. But most of all pesticides run off into our groundwater as well as our rivers, lakes, and eventually soon to be oceans. And this is affecting our drinking water. So some things that I believe that we can do to change is that reduce the amount of waste you produce, which could simply be the use of glass and reusable water bottles. in containers over plastic. Use compost. Recycle. Buy products that are more sustainable, like they have sustainable toilet paper and paper towels in the grocery stores. Turn off unused lights. Walking or riding a bike instead of driving. I see people all the time on campus that live not even a mile down the road at the apartment building that drive their cars to school. And I think it's so silly, but they could easily walk. So reducing the amount of emissions output could drastically have an impact. And be an advocate, because stand up for what you think is right. Help others change their lifestyle, because it creates a domino effect. It doesn't always entail doing it right away, but being able to gradually think about it and being more aware of what you're doing could benefit you plus the environment. And vote. Vote for who you think will do the most change, stand up against pollution, and to promote positive environmental change. And we need to make a significant change to move forward toward a healthier, more sustainable future. Our health hangs in the balance of our own forthcoming actions. So if we are to make a difference in our own health and planet, then we need to adjust many different factors. We need to start by being more aware of the food we eat, what we release into the atmosphere, and making more steps to becoming overall more sustainable. And I've researched so many different factors that play such a huge role in the ecosystem. It always seems to be that humans are always on top, as well with the meat industry, which is a huge contributor to greenhouse gases and pollution of our waters. We also can make a difference in our future and health if we just simply begin to think and gain knowledge about the topic, because we're stuck in this violent cycle of we build infrastructure and buildings and produce emissions, and it goes out into the atmosphere and into the world, and it changes the environment as a whole, which then comes back and destroys our health. So everything we do on a daily basis affects our environment, and in return affects us. And it seems to me that we know what we're doing is wrong, but no one seems to want to fix it. And we don't want to face what we're doing to our planet, but most certainly don't want to face what we're doing to ourselves.